Hold it with your feet or something.
It's actually recording.
Alright everybody, welcome to Book Zoo. A little loud maybe? Not too bad?
Sounds good.
See everybody. Okay, so I'm Erik, it's Steve, Roxanne, Ramona. Yeah, it's been tough lately. I don't think most people realize, but the election cycle, the 4-year, it just wipes out the book business. Like people are at home, like either fretting it or out, I don't know what they're doing, listening to debates and stuff. But anyway, so glad you guys can make it out. There'll probably be a break in between readings. Feel free, and you're definitely encouraged to look at the books. A lot of them you're not going to find. Some of these books I've only seen once in 10 years. So some of them I'm sure you'll never see again if you don't buy them. Also, Sumiko Saulson and Brad Halverson both have books for sale. That's Brad's, that's Sumiko. Sumiko also has a few others. So talk to Steve about prices and this and that. Do look at them for sure. A lot of people don't realize what it takes to not just write a book, to have an idea, to want to write it, to write it, to rewrite it, to rewrite it, to rewrite it, rewrite it, then do some more rewriting, and then designing it, laying it out. I mean, this is the culmination. They're here, they're with their books, they're entertaining us, hopefully inspiring, I don't know what we'll find out, scaring us, I guess, horror, I don't know. But these people have, believe me, blood, sweat, and tears to finally get something out. So we're super happy about that, and we're here to enjoy and also support if we can, in whatever way we can, and enjoy the bookstore. And there we go. I've said too much. Let's hear it up for Brad Halverson.
See how the sound works. Definitely helps to boost your confidence up. For people, and I was thinking about that on the way over here tonight. You know, I'm kind of a shy person, and I was thinking about the first time I actually did a reading, and just how after thinking about it, after it happened in retrospect, just how bad it went, and so I was trying to think of how I could make it a better situation tonight. So my book is called The End and the Echo. It's a novella. I wrote it about 2 years ago. I finished the last chapter, and like Erik was talking about, all the different processes you have to go through. It's taken a while, and finally in the last few months I've had it out in print. So I'm really excited to, Erik was cordial enough to offer me to come and read. The sun began creeping through the windows in flat rays through the minute cracks, in at their point of entry but fanning out into dissolves, curls and streams of particles lucidly illuminated, warping and drifting cosmically. I lay there watching the microscopic display, wishing I could rest. Sleep, I ached for sleep, instead it was pushed out. Weeks of random and inadequate spots of it left me vibrating numbly. The graveyards were taking their toll, and it wasn't worth the extra dollar employers thought compensated for transforming you into a creature of the night, flinching and cursing at the sun when it took its natural course. I lounged in bed, unable to raise the motivation or the energy necessary to get out of it. My red eyes would not shut. The vortical racing of my thoughts would not slow. The fixtures of the dull room would not pale to darkness, where the concept of rest and relaxation was the most comprehensive. That time, when it approached, the shades of gray beginning to invade the violet and periwinkle dogs, remaining from the sun's presence, that time where my eyes would begin to droop and a veil of exhaustion unfolded, trailing over my shoulders thickly, that's the time my attention would be forced to the orderly warehouse and the hollow beeping of forklifts and the rackety shaking of assembly lines reverberating in that still hangar expanse. That block of time, each fraction numbering numbers, each decimal calibrating the linearity of existence, rendering it accountable to a vast bureaucratic synthesis of actuality. Time indexed into the past and future, exchanged for more time, time eating at my soul, in measures practically allotted for the efficient projection of the system's longevity. There were still many hours before that time. What that space contained held no particular interest either. Life had mostly become a monotonous occurrence, a pantomime of existence, patterns of habit and regularity, extinguishing the magic of the world. Get out of bed, shower, brush your teeth, dress, eat, drink, shop, say hello, say thank you, work, sleep. Invariance plagued from all angles and slowly smothered even that spark of desire for an event, for that difference. All the complex wonders, all the bright uplifting, all the dynamic marvels, all the compelling intrigue, all of anything that gleamed haptic or shined dismally were ostracized beyond perception, and the stiff orders of society were overemphasized, occupying all sense of reality. The compulsion for redundancy replaced any inclination to give attention to anything residing outside its parameters, even instilling an intense dislike of everything that did not conform to order, chastisement towards deviation, suppression of every signal that did not relay the program's stipulations. Consciousness was looped, that hazy vision of the predictable course reeling over and over behind my eyes. Days reduced to months, months reduced to years, a lifetime of unbending adherence to bland functionality. I threw the covers off my naked body and sat up in bed, insensitivity oscillating at a high-pitched hum, fury beckoning to nowhere, pulling me astute against emptiness, my hands clutching wildly at nothing. It all burned at me. The flare of this impotent knowledge contained no outlet. The expanse of half-life so thorough and unyielding my vicious triad couldn't even make it scratch on its opaque facade. Futility was pronounced so clearly. The sight of myself as that nondescript expression of dullness riddled my skin like smacks from a thick wire brush. Was that me? That dim apparition folding at each gesture from my handlers? Still no real avenue of escape or mode of resistance was apparent. I gaped horrifically at the creeping sense of decaying gloom catching the sideshow of my life. The brooding tension pushed me out of bed, pulling on a pair of greasy-stained jeans and a wrinkly t-shirt, fumbling through piles of bills, empty junk food wrappers, expired advertisements that were saved out of a vague inclination to purchase, folded up flyers of events never attended, cheap mementos only holding superficial attachment to the meaningless past, cassette tapes whose covers had long been misplaced, random snapshots whose most significant content were the stains imprinted by the bottom of a beer bottle or dribbles of copy, pens and pencils scratched and tarnished from being carried around but hardly used, build-ups of dingy dust streaked through with round crevices of fingertips swiping across the neglected domains. Somewhere in the mess was a lighter that worked, or a book of matches with maybe one or two red-tipped strands of cardboard left. I had to smoke. I had to feed my demise, that teeny facet that eased the void's twisting disembowelment. Fighting up into the spot.
So, you know, if I get famous or something, you can like, yeah, it's not my last. I actually have 3 more this month. I'm not really sure what it is. Something about being a horror writer and it being October. People just keep booking me all in October. So, hey. So, before I start to read from my book Solitude, I just want to tell you guys all that this is a very exciting period in time for African American genre writers, because for a long time you could only really be a literary writer. You had to have a voice like Alice Walker or Toni Morrison. You couldn't write science fiction until Octavia Butler opened that door, and you definitely couldn't just go around trying to sound like Anne Rice or Stephen King or something. You had to be really, really, really serious, which is great if you can write really, really seriously, but I kept trying and trying, and I guess that horror is in my veins because it just kept coming out and coming out and coming out. And one day, my mother, who's here tonight with us right there, she gave me a copy of a book by L.A. Banks, which was all about this fantastic vampire slayer, and I loved it. And it was categorized as quote-unquote urban fiction, which basically means fiction with people that are in urban settings that are not all okay, never mind, I just dug a hole. Apologies to the people people here that are you know, not of color or whatever, but yeah, urban fiction, if you know, it has characters of color and stuff like that, and it takes place in cities and stuff. That's what they call it, so that's what they were calling it. So, but it's kind of getting now to where it's like, it's okay if people buy books that are, you know, horror that are written by black people that are not, you know, in the quote-unquote urban fiction niche, which is, you know, it's better to have a niche than no niche. So, I am, so that I don't babble all night, going to try to read the introduction, not the introduction, but the little marketing blurb about my book here. Solitude. To what extent does the presence of others affect our thoughts and actions? What do we believe when we are truly alone? Solitude is the riveting tale of diverse individuals isolated in a San Francisco seemingly void of all other human life. In the absence of others, each journeys into a personal web of beliefs and perceptions as they try to determine what happens there and to the world around them. Each of their views of events, each views events differently. One suspects that aliens have invaded. Another believes that it's a sign of revelation and end times. Some don't know what to think, and others find their minds unraveling as they struggle to cope with unimaginable events. Soon, threats both natural and supernatural leave them too busy fighting to survive in a world of strange and unpredictable events where all of the luxuries of civilization are being slowly eroded to even stop and wonder. And unless they can find each other, they will all have to face it alone in the dark. Okay, so this book is a book that has basically about a half a dozen, maybe it's a little more than that, I'm really not counting them right now, characters who each find themselves in these situations we just described. And at first they don't know about the other people, so they're all kind of wondering whether or not they're the last person on Earth, or in the case of those who have determined that this is isolated to San Francisco, the last person in San Francisco. And this particular piece that I'm going to start with is about a character whose name is Jerry. And Jerry is a homeless guy who wakes up at the main San Francisco Public Library on the day after this event because he got drunk and passed out, and he sleeps there and he lives there. And this is really part of a chapter 6, which is called Gone to the Dogs, because there's a lot of ownerless, wild, feral, hungry-looking dogs wandering around San Francisco at this point of the story. Okay. You know, I really could have bookmarked this, but I didn't. So, I'm going to keep looking while I'm talking. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he thinks I should do it Brad style, just open it up and read it, because you guys all want to hear about people's internal, you know, whatever. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, why don't we start with this? Gerald K. Sampson versus the library. Jerry had a few items of value in his wallet, All of them were forms of identification of one sort or another, important for a homeless man to possess. For lack of proper identification could become an excuse for a police officer to pick a man up off the street and fingerprint him to prove that he wasn't one of the not so few men with a criminal history who were living in the homeless anonymity, avoiding being picked up on some bench warrant from somewhere. Jerry was a drunkard, but he was not a serious criminal.